Dan Strong. I'm the managing director of Jones Britain Kitchens, and we are based just outside Tunbridge Wells on the border of East Sussex and Kent. I was lucky enough to win Designer of the Year in the category 25,000 to 50,000 at the Kbsa Awards. And the property was a new build. So it was a very contemporary new build. It was almost a passive house, but wasn't quite. And the client was a single gentleman who wanted he was a city worker. I think he was in finance of some description, and he wanted a country bolt hold to just sort of relax from London and the city. He's a very kind of modern, contemporary, open plan kind of guy, but he was a chap living on his own, which was very different to what I'm used to. I'm very used to kind of people in their 60s and 70s, and it's a husband and wife couple, and they want something kind of fairly mainstream and traditional, whereas this was something I could really get my teeth into as modern and contemporary, which is something I really like. The customer first came to me, and I was mildly horrified when he said, I've been to 8 or 9 different retailers. And I thought, oh gosh, this is going to be hard work. But he said, listen, they've all come up with the same design, and they'd almost effectively taken what the architect had drawn and thought that that's what was needed in the space. And for me, I just decided to go left field and be a little bit different. And I thought about the areas, and I thought about zoning, and actually, because the space was quite large, I felt that it needed to be broken up into segments. That was really my starting point. Look at the segment, look at breaking it down into certain areas. So hob cooking, refrigeration, oven cooking, storage. And then to throw into the mix, there was a utility room off the kitchen, and the door was in the most awkward of places. And that really was one of the focus points of the design, is making that utility room door A, disappear, but B, integrated into the design so that it made sense and looked special. And wanted bold. He liked monotonal aspects. He'd shown me a few pictures online, and he liked black and white. And I think giving, being fronted with that, it's a single man on his own, I think I could be bold and go with black and white. I mean, they're not black, it's dark grey and an off-white, but it gave me that opportunity to be very masculine with the space. AccuPanel, which is the slatted panel in the design, was used twofold. It was there for a visual impact, but it's acoustic paneling. And because the room was large and open plan, I remember when I first went into the empty space to measure, and it was so echoey, it was untrue. And I knew from my experience that if I didn't do something about this, fill the space, if it's going to be minimalistic, the space is going to be generally fairly empty. So I thought the AccuPanel had been introduced to me a little while ago, and I just knew that this was the right product for this space to tone down the echoes within the room. So I've seen lots of AccuPaneling images all over the internet, and they tend to be just one wall. But I like to be different, and therefore decided to do something a little bit whizzy and wow. So the floating units were set into a boxing, which had the AccuPanel as a surround. And then also the hidden door into the utility room, which had the AccuPanel casing on the door. So when the door was closed, it vanishes and disappears. And then floating shelving beyond that. So it's just thinking outside the box and trying to be a little bit different. Acoustics and lighting are two key things in large open plan spaces. I wouldn't say I have a signature style. For me, as a designer, and my background is art and design, I've got 3 art A levels. I studied 3-dimensional design at university. So I'm always trying to think about the client's needs and how aesthetically the room is going to look and function. So I tend to listen to the client, and that then leads me down a path of how to design that kitchen. I have been lucky enough to win a couple of awards with the Kbsa before. And if I look back at all 3 designs that I've won for all 3 awards, they've been radically different. I think the whole job was reasonably challenging, but the utility room door was the most complicated element, to the point where the client and I were back and forth for quite some time of should we actually move the door in the design? And I said, well, no, because there was discussions about pushing the door into the corner. And I said, no, I've got some thoughts and some ideas. So the utility room was definitely the challenge and getting that door to work in conjunction with the rest of the space and having the right feel and walk around the room. It needed to flow. And you're presented with an enormous, great big space. You don't want to be darting, a million miles across a room to fetch the mustard or a bottle of milk or whatever. So it was all about zoning and then hiding that utility room door. Those were the two most complicated elements. I personally love the monotone finish. I think the sometimes you can have too much black or you have too much white. And I think the colors just worked, not that they're colors, but the monotone finish just blended perfectly. There's not too much of either of those two finishes. And I particularly also like the hint of color that we added with the walnut. So the walnut shelving was lit. So at night, you get that sort of little line of lighting underneath the shelving to the side of the utility door. So that was another element that I really was pleased with. Creating the L-shaped island with the hob in the particular location that it's in, it means that the client can entertain. They've got a barrier with the breakfast bar, and that's kind of almost like an invisible wall. They like the fact that they can cook, but the hob's not right in front of their friends that are with them. So they can turn to the side and socialize and entertain, but they particularly like the fact that everything is easy access. And it's almost like I made the kitchen, the usable kitchen space, the working area, I made that just a little bit smaller so that it was more manageable to work in. And it worked, and he loves it.